Xiaomi's just released these two phones here, the Xiaomi 15T series. So we have the 15T Pro and then the 15T. There are some big differences in them. In this comparison, I'm going to be covering those exact differences so it can help you with that purchasing decision on which one of these phones should you get. So I'll be covering the design of them, their features, some benchmarks, what the build quality is like, which one has the best cameras, the best video performance, which is best at gaming, battery life, charging time is all going to be covered in this comparison and review of the Xiaomi 15T Pro and the Xiaomi 15T.
So here's what we get in the box. Now, I have the EU versions. This could vary from region to region, but with the box, we don't actually get a charger inside. That is not included, unfortunately. You'll have to get that separate if you don't have the specific charger because there's a difference in the charging rates with these. We've got 90 watts with the Pro, 66 watts with the non-Pro, and that is a bit of a difference, but later I'll show you the exact charging times. Now, what is included is, as you probably guessed there, that you get a Type-C cable, and we also get a TPU case. Now, the TPU case on both of them is the same. It's this darker gray style TPU case with good protection for the camera module, and you'll see this, which is new in the EU. So they're telling us that the energy, that this is an A for the efficiency of it, and it does tell us there the battery time, which is an interesting thing. Drop resistance being an A rating as well. Repairability is a C, and the battery can be cycled. These batteries, which are the same, the 5,500 milliamp hours, 1,600 times, and IP68, and that is with both of the phones there. Keeping things simple for myself and for you as a viewer, the 15T Pro, so the Pro model is always going to be on the left, and the 15T, the standard model, will always be on the right side of the screen. So you can see the builds there look similar at first glance. There is some slight differences to them. So I have the gray color here with the 15T. 15T Pro is the mocha gold color, which to me almost looks like a brown. I'm not too sure if I'm fond of it. I prefer the more traditional colors, basic colors like the silver here with the 15T Pro. Now the frames around the outside of both of them, they are a little bit different. You can see there's no antenna lines that are visible with the 15T Pro around the whole outside of it. And why is that? That is because it's using a plastic frame, so you're not going to see those antenna lines. Microphone location with the 15T Pro is here at the top, so that is for the noise cancellation, also used in video. And with the Pro model, it's located right here. They have the microphone on the back of it. And that might be better for picking up people's voices or people that you are recording in front of you there. So the backs there, they are made out of this glass material. It has a bit of a smooth finish, slippery finish to it, especially if later in winter your hands are cold. There is a weight difference, not by much at all though. So we are looking at here with the 15T. This one does weigh 194 grams versus the Pro's weight being 210 grams. And yeah, honestly, you can't feel that difference between them. I can't detect that at all. And thickness of them, a little bit of a difference here. So 7.96 millimeters for the Pro, and the non-Pro, this one is a little tiny bit thin at 7.5. But again, you can barely kind of see that difference. So the power buttons on the left of them are located in the same exact place there. And again, you can see the antenna line difference there between with the Pro and the non-Pro. Build quality is excellent. It feels very, very good. It reminds me a little bit of like an iPhone kind of build to them. SIM trays take 2 nano SIMs, no micro SD card support, dual loudspeakers. Now the differences do not just stop there. There are some other minor things that, well, for some people could be more than minor. So Wi-Fi 7 with the Pro model, Wi-Fi 6E with the non-Pro. Camera difference, when you look at the modules at the back, they look similar, but because of the periscopic 5x optical zoom camera that's in the Pro, you can see that it is sticking out, that camera module, a fraction more, okay? And that's why it is a little bit thicker too, to incorporate that, but not too much of a difference. And then the chipset, so we have with the Pro model, it's the 9400, and then we have the 8400 Ultra with the 15T. The ultra wides are the same, 50 megapixels. The main cameras are 50 megapixels, but there's a slight difference in the aperture. So 1.62 with optical image stabilization with the Pro model versus 1.6 7. Okay, that's barely any difference to really notice, but there's the processing differences between the chipsets as well and the ISP, which later I'll cover with the camera comparison. Front-facing cameras, well, those are the same there. They're 32 megapixels, and you can only shoot 4K 30 with them. That's the limit. And there's a difference with the video recording on the Pro. So the Pro gets 4K 120 maximum. This is 4K 60 with the rear camera's maximum. And the Pro also has 8K video. So there are a few differences. It's starting to add up now. Now the displays on both, they really are exactly the same. It's the same hardware. So we're looking at 6.83 inches on both. AMOLED flat screens. They are using Gorilla Glass 7i. And I love the fact that they are flat. Bezels are decent on both. They are flagship tier screens. Xiaomi's claim is they will go up to 3200 nits. So 3200 nits is impressive, but I'm only measuring approximately around 1100 nits on both of them. And yes, this is with HDR content, but you can make them out in direct sunlight. Touch response is very good. Pulse width modulation rate is 3840 hertz. So I'm not seeing any banding. I'm not seeing any flicker on both. Very good viewing angles and flagship grade. They really are good screens that Xiaomi's gone with. The hardware is absolutely spot on there. Now, in the settings, you go in and you can set 120 hertz forced refresh rate with the 15T. 15T Pro is up to 144 hertz for some reason, and both of them do not have a 90 hertz option. Now, why they say up to 144 hertz? Well, I believe at times in some areas of the UI, it's only going to be at 120 hertz refresh rate, and then it ups it to 144 where it can, and that was most likely in some of the apps where it'll just be the 120. So they really are identical screens, both of them very good. And I have the brightness set about the same. I have noticed that the white balance on the Pro model seems to be a little bit more correct. Now, why this is, could be the chipset difference between them. I'm not really too sure, or just the way Xiaomi's calibrated it. Hard to see here on camera, but it's a little bit better on the Pro version, and it's more of a cooler white for some reason. But of course, you can go in color temperature, you can adjust this too. You've got that option there. So the gestures, all working well. We have HyperOS with this, and we'll just jump in. I'll show you again the settings here about phone. So HyperOS with them is a very similar, in fact, the same version. Yes, so it's version 2.0.2.03 that I'm covering on both. Security patch level is the first there of July. So a little bit dated, but I'm sure they're going to have updates coming through for that. And at the time of this video, no updates, no bugs that I've experienced. Both have 12 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, and 1 terabyte of storage there. So let's get into just a couple other things about this ROM. Oh, accelerometer there. Didn't want to flip that around. There we go. So you can, if you want, use eSIMs on both. They are supporting it, which is great to see. They haven't just reserved that for the flagship model, which I know some brands do. For bloatware, okay, there is a bit. You can see a few bloatware apps on there that are present. I sometimes see system advertising, but when I do see it, it's more on the cheaper version, the 15T. So they decided to push that a little bit more on that particular model. And I love to see this that we have. I don't know when they added this Xiaomi. I don't remember seeing it in the last phones I did review, but you can see now the battery health and the cycles. This is very important. So if you're buying these phones used, check on the cycle count there, because once it starts to go over, especially around about 500 cycles, that battery will start to lose capacity and eventually start to not run for as long and hold its charge as long. So it's good to have that information. So we've got that Dimensity, the 8400 Ultra, and the Dimensity 9400 Plus. They are good chips from MediaTek here, very good, running Android 15. Now, GPS. Been a while since I covered this. There will be a few more satellites seen by the Pro model with the 9400 Plus chipset. It really makes no difference at all because my accuracy is the same, and I got a fix very quick and 1 meter of accuracy, something the Qualcomm chips cannot do. They're limited to 3 meters of accuracy. So the internal storage difference here as expected. Now it is UFS 4.1 on both, and because I have a different capacity, 1 terabyte here and then 512 gigabytes, I was expecting that there would be a difference, especially when it comes to the reads. Normally, the larger capacities will be faster, and that is definitely present here, even though the writes are quicker. So the Pro version, fantastic speeds, over 4,000 for read, sequential writes almost 4,000. Random access on both is very good, but a lot faster. The random mixed access and the random access on the Pro, clearly a lot better there. Not that you're going to notice this. These are synthetic benchmarks, and I'm telling you, in using both, I'm not seeing any UI performance differences. Only when you install apps loading games, it will be faster on the Pro model. So Antutu score shows there is a big margin between that 8400 Ultra and the 9400 Plus, as expected. The GPU is much more potent. The 8 cores, they're both octa-cores, are clocked higher on the 9400 Plus model, as expected. It's a true proper flagship chip, and this is more mid-range level with the 15T, as expected. It's the cheaper phone. It went up the temperatures quite a bit more, though, 13.2 in the same test versus 9.3. Now, Xiaomi's still doing this for some reason. They are blocking the servers for 3D Mark, so I cannot download and run the test for the throttling test I like to do with these phones. I can't see how much it throttles. I believe it would probably be down to at least 40%, but they don't want us to do that test for some reason. So charge time. So we've got the 66 watts, well, 67 watts with the 15T charged wired, and we have 90 watts with our Pro model, and also 50 watts wireless. So 48 minutes to fully charge from, I took them both from, was around about 6%, even though it's not stating there. There's a bit of a glitch. But there isn't a difference, that much of a difference, okay? So we're looking at 11 minutes only. I wouldn't base your purchase decision on that unless you needed wireless charging. Then this is the only model that does have the wireless charging there. Okay, battery life, same exact battery capacity. So it's the 5,500 milliamp hours. Both of them were set to the same brightness and both to their highest refresh rates. The Pro model, the 9400 Plus, clearly slightly more efficient. That chipset probably finishes tasks a little quicker and just uses less energy overall. And you can see there's not much in it. We're talking about an hour and about 23 minutes there difference from when they both ended the tests there. So it's close, but if you wanted the best battery life, you should go for the 15T Pro model. Now, I have tested out gaming performance on both, and Captain Obvious here, of course, it's the Pro version that does perform better. You see less frame dips, less lag at times, and I've got it on the maximum settings here. This is a super demanding game, but the difference isn't that great. It's only that you just see those frame dips a little bit less frequently on the Pro version, and that really is about it. The Dimensity 9400 Ultra can still play a demanding game like this without any problems. It will just show those frame dips more often. So both phones do use optical fingerprint readers. They are not ultrasonic, but that does tend to work every single time for me, and have not had any problems with this. My only complaint is the location of that fingerprint reader is, it's a bit kind of hard to get to sometimes. You have to kind of shuffle the phone up, and the power button maybe should be a little bit lower because of this. Now, I think they do this for cost reduction, having it a bit lower. Ideally, that fingerprint reader to me should be about there where it comes more naturally, because you tap the power button to unlock, and then you would scan your finger about there. It's comfortable, but there, yeah, okay. I know that's nitpicking, but they do work well, and that's the main thing. So after all, these are phones, voice calls on both. I have placed calls on them. I've got my SIM cards in them, as you can see. Well, one is roaming. It's another SIM that I have, but I've handled calls. They sound just fine. Like any flagship phone or a mid-range phone are good. Loudspeakers on both. They sound identical to my ears. I'm not just noticing too much of a difference between them. And I believe that's because they're using the exact same hardware for the loudspeakers. So it comes out of here, comes out of the earpiece. I'll give you a sample now just to give you an idea.
Somebody save me from myself. I'm off the
Overall, I think the 15 series, the Xiaomi 15, does have better speakers. So I've noticed a little bit of clipping when you do push the volume right up. So I did set it to 100%. You probably want it a little bit lower than that if you are going to be blasting out the speakers. Not that you would normally be doing that, but it was just a test to see what they're like. And I find that to be a little disappointing. They could also be louder. And looking at the cameras now with the 15T series here. So I have on the left the 15T Pro and on the right the 15T, the standard model. And this is 4K 30 frames per second with the front-facing cameras. This is all you can shoot with both of them, so there's no 4K 60 with the front-facing cameras. Using electronic image stabilization, these are 32 megapixel sensors. And for the video, with the Pro you get 4K 120 frames per second. With the 15T, you only get 4K 60 max with the rear cameras. So with the rear cameras, it is the same here. They're 50 megapixels, all of the cameras, but of course, with the Xiaomi 15T Pro, as I pointed out, we get the 5x periscopic zoom camera, and that does make a difference when you want to zoom in. So I can go to the 2x preset here on both of them, and that's digital, and you see it swap over, and it looks to be a little bit overexposed. So slightly different processing with the 15T versus the 15T Pro. I think on the Pro it does look a little bit better. And then now I can go to 5x, and that's the 5x optical periscopic with the Pro. You can see that as I shake about a little bit, there is some movement coming through, and then I'll apply 5x zoom here with the 15T, and you see now it's using the zoom camera. You see it swap over, but it was using the main camera before, and I'm finding that quality it's worse off. You can see right now when you want to zoom in, I would definitely go for the 15T Pro if you plan to zoom quite a bit with video. Now they have the ultra-wide electronic image stabilization, and panning around, are we going to see any of that annoying jitter that we often get with Android? And I go to the main cameras now 1x. And here you can see they're both looking very similar at the 1x preset here. Now there is another difference. With the 15T Pro, we do get 8K video. You don't with the standard 15T. No 8K video, only 4K is the maximum. So a real mixed bag there with that video performance between both of them. Sometimes the non-pro version, I think, with video actually looked a little bit better, and there's some overexposure. Now with stills, we're looking at now the main cameras here, both of them 50 megapixels. You can see the shadows look brighter with the Pro version. Otherwise, they're quite similar. And there's a little bit of a difference in the white balance. Portrait mode, both of them are looking very similar, but you can see that I think the stitching is a little bit better with the Pro model. Could be down to the ISP, the more powerful chipset, but I don't really think so. I think it's just some software differences between both of them. Again, the white balance is slightly different. It's a bit warmer with the 15T, cooler with the 15T Pro, some skin smoothing, and this shot looking warmer, the selfies with the 15T. Clearly, the stitching is better with the 15T Pro, because if you have a look at the 15T, just around my left earlobe, well, it's actually my right ear, but on the left, you can see that the stitching failed there with the 15T. Another instance here of where the non-pro version comes out, I think, on top. Now, both of them are slightly overexposed, but the 15T image to me looks a little bit better with that exposure and the details capture. And no, it wasn't because Wappo, the cat right here, was moving or anything. No, he was more or less in the same position. It's just the processing side of things. So it looks like Xiaomi's got a bit of work to do with tweaking firmware updates and improving the cameras on, well, both of them. But I'm a bit more disappointed in the Pro version. 5x zoom shot on both, so we are with native optical zoom at the 115 millimeters with the Pro model, but you can see that the 15T is not lagging behind that much with the digital zoom at the same level. So it's either the optics in the periscopic camera 5x optical isn't that good, or it's just, again, I think, the case of more optimization is needed from Xiaomi with the Pro model. Ultra-wide shots do look very similar between the two. It's the same hardware. It's that 15mm 12 megapixel camera that, yes, can shoot 4K video, as I showed you before. And there's a very minor difference with the shadows on the HDR here, with the Pro model being slightly better, but there's not much in it. Low light performance, more or less the same. It's just again, the white balance is different between the Pro and the non-Pro model. However, in this last shot, okay, a few more details in the shadows with the Pro model with its slightly brighter aperture.
So at the time of this video, I don't know, unfortunately, the pricing of both, and I believe there is going to be a bit of a difference there. So if you're on a limited budget and you don't intend to game a lot, you're not too fussed about video performance, and you don't need wireless charging, then I would go for the Xiaomi 15T. However, the 15T Pro, it does have a lot of extra things that start to add up. So first off, the build is better. Metal frame. It has the 5x optical zoom camera, which can come in handy. Better video performance, 4K 120 frames per second and 8K at 30 frames per second, which this simply does not have. It's got slightly faster storage, which you don't notice unless you run synthetic benchmarks. However, the gaming, you get less frame drops with the 15T Pro. So if you're a gamer, you're more focused on video performance and the cameras, I would get the Pro. Remember, the screens on both, they are exactly the same. So there's no real difference there. The only thing is the refresh rate, but I mean, you don't notice the difference between 120 Hertz and 144 Hertz that the 15T Pro has. So thank you for watching this comparison between the Xiaomi 15T and the 15T Pro. I do hope it was useful. If it was, please give a thumbs up so the YouTube algorithm can find this video and recommend it to others.